All right, what's going on, YouTube? Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Man, this is a 24/7, 365 thing we got going on here in Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, and we're talking about college football today. And a really interesting note, one of my subscribers talked about, man, Auburn really needs to shellac Minnesota because Auburn has such a huge talent gap, if you will. Way more talented than Minnesota. Now, if you look at this thing on paper, you're absolutely right. You look at all the recruiting classes, at least in the last few years, between Auburn and Minnesota, it's not even close. Auburn tends to range around that 12, maybe 6, 7 at the most on average, getting some of the better athletes, especially for the middle tier portion of the SEC, versus Minnesota hanging around that 50-ish range ranking-wise. The best recruiting class they've had in a while was a 38th ranked recruiting class. So there is definitely on the surface a talent disparity between Auburn and Minnesota. How will that translate, though, over to the football field? PJ Fleck is an excellent coach. He's guided this Minnesota Gopher football team to a really nice record, actually having a outside opportunity at winning, not only winning the Big Ten, but made an epic jump after a win over Penn State. So you really can't use that as a mitigating factor as to why Auburn should win this particular football game, at least by leaps and bounds. Now, Vegas does have Auburn as an 8-point favorite right now. Can't think of what the over-under is right now. But either way, I'm telling you guys, this is the scary stuff. This Minnesota team is, by all accounts, should play at a very high level against Auburn. Very opportunistic on defense, which we will talk about in yet another video coming up real soon when we talk about how Bo Nix needs to approach this particular football game. But this Minnesota team is not 10-2 for nothing. With one loss away from potentially being in a New Year's Six Bowl or even beyond. So the whole talent disparity thing, yes, I think Auburn is one of the more talented teams in college football. They showed that especially in the LSU game with the ability to run the 3-1-7 type defense. You can't run that unless you have very good defensive linemen where you can pressure with 3 guys, and unless you have range within your linebackers and your cornerbacks play extra aggressive. You're going to take some chances, but you got to play extra aggressive. Roger McCreary with the interception. Turnover on special teams. Those are things that you have to have happen if you're going to beat a team like LSU, but you got to be talented. The same way we're playing against Alabama. Yes, they may have been without Tua Tagovailoa, but Alabama was still a super talented football team who's probably, if they show up, is going to win big in their bowl game. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves in this particular realm of compare and contrast with the Auburn Tigers as it relates to Minnesota, because just because you got more talent, that does not mean it's going to translate over to not only a victory, but yet alone an easy victory. These guys are not just some run-of-the-mill type football players. PJ Fleck is going to have these guys prepared. This is a big moment for Minnesota, taking on a formidable SEC opponent to where a lot rides on whether you can beat Auburn or not, contrary to what a lot of people may think. Auburn is one of few teams in the country that has the privilege, or maybe even the curse, of having to play LSU, compete against LSU, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas A&M for sure every year. And it's no telling how the interconference ball game is going to rotate. Just so happened this year the rotation called for Florida, who happened to be a top 10 team as well. So either way, just be careful, guys, in your expectation. Auburn is very talented. I mean, you talk about a 5-star quarterback in Bo Nix who continued to improve as the year went on. Very impressed with Bo Nix. He hadn't turned the ball over, I think, since the LSU game. That's going to be put to the test. We're going to talk about that in more detail in another video. Also, good news for Auburn, of course. There have been no players that appear to be sitting out for this particular football game. Derek Brown should be there. Marlon Davidson, Big Cat Bryant. That has a lot of athleticism at the line of scrimmage. I think this is where Auburn may have an advantage. I think this is going to be a very entertaining game, but you just can't take this particular team for granted. It's no mistake that they beat Penn State this year. All right, guys, we got more coverage coming on the Minnesota versus Auburn game that will be taking place January 1st. It's the Outback Bowl. The last time Auburn played in the Outback Bowl, I think it was against Northwestern. Actually, against Wisconsin. An overtime loss for Auburn in that particular football game. A very entertaining game. Missed field goal was the fate there. All right, guys, we're doing this on the cuff, okay? This is the drive home from work. If I did misinform on any level in this particular video, I do apologize. But I do want to give you guys some content because we want to keep the train rolling. So if I did make a mistake on the previous Outback Bowl or any other information thereof, charge it to my head and not my heart, baby. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to your channel, my channel. If you're an Auburn Tiger or damn Eagle.